We're going to deploy a .NET Minimum API app onto Blossom in this video. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. Right now I'm on the documentation page of Blossom. And we click on View Documentation there. It takes us to a bunch of quick starts. So we're going to look at this one right here, .NET Minimum API. Click on that. It tells you there are 3 steps. You visit the Blossom Quick Starts page itself, and then you choose the example and you click Deploy. So once we click on that, you can see basically here's the list again. And we're looking for .NET Minimum API right there. Click Configure and Deploy. So you can see everything's kind of been pre-selected, which is kind of nice. So what I did was actually created a demo cluster ahead of time for this. So you can see I'm going to show you the demo cluster by clicking on clusters up there, and then you see demo. So this demo cluster is running on Heroku, and you don't have to use Heroku. You could use kind of any cloud provider. All the major ones are supported. You can see it here in the documentation page again. So you can use whichever one that you're using, or you can even use no cloud provider and use basically your own data center if you want to. Now I'm back on the cluster page here. You can see there's one server, just the demo server here, with all the roles kind of collapsed onto one server. So the way you can use Blossom is you can have everything running on one server if you're trying to like optimize for cost, or you can actually expand it out onto multiple servers. Let's say you have a separate load balancer tier, a separate web tier, and a separate worker tier. If you want to optimize for performance there, then you could also do that. In addition, what you could also do is you could actually deploy multiple apps onto the same cluster, or deploy only one app to the same cluster. So if you click on this, you can see actually that I have multiple apps already on this cluster. That covers the cluster pretty thoroughly. So next is the app name. You can see it's .NET Minimum API, then the GitHub repository here. So I'm going to go look at the repository, and you can see here is the code right here. It's very simple, and it's just let's see what it's gonna do. Let's see program .cs here, and then you can see just simple is a hello world and an echo. So I think there's gonna be a greeting basically form, and then an echo form in this app. So let's go back to the quick start form. Container registry is next. So I've created a container registry right here. I'm using Docker Hub, but you can use any registry that you kind of want all the major ones to support it. Now I'm gonna click create app. Create app, and you're gonna see right here the bouncy up and down arrow saying click deploy. So you click on that, and you can see immediately right here it starts to deploy with some logs. So you click on that, and then you can see this is the main or master log right here. So essentially this is the overview log showing all the commands that are going to be executed across all your servers in the cluster. I only have one server right here, so you only see one server here, but if you have multiple servers, then when the commands are running in parallel, you're going to see multiple server logs at the same time. The thing I like about this is it keeps all your logs up here pretty neat and concise. And down here, if you want to see more detailed logs, you click on that log, then you can see it right here. So it's not all jumbled together. So you can see it's kind of building right now the app. Let's go back to the parent log. And while that's building, I'm going to show you around the dashboard so then you can kind of get a feel for the UI. Here is where we kind of originally went to click deploy, and then here's the deploy logs. Now get repo. The quick start configure is essentially a public repository, but if you want a private repository, just click on that, and you click connect to your private repository provider here. And GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, they're all supported, and it's going to show up in this list. Then you specify it there. Then it allows Blossom then essentially use that connection to clone down a private repository, so you don't need to use a public repository. Next is Docker registries. So you can see here is the registry that was configured as part of the quick start. But you can actually connect to, like I said, multiple registries, and you click on here, you can see pretty much all the major registry providers are supported. And then this is where you will push your image up to. This next is I'm clicking on databases, or essentially services. But this one, this app doesn't have a database, so it's empty. But if you had an app that had a database like Razor Pages or something, then you would connect to a database and link it here. And then what that would do is actually that would create like a database URL environmental variable, and then it will actually show up here as essentially kind of like a virtual environmental variable or a linked environmental variable. Or you can add your own environmental variables right here. When you click on environmental variables here, and you click on add new variables, and you add as many as you want right there. Okay. Next is activity. This is kind of the deploy sequence, and then apps logs. I'll just show you that real quickly. But basically, these app logs are essentially your app logs streaming down. So this is useful for kind of debugging. This is where I kind of go to debug to kind of set up the application, or just look for application logging, stack traces, and all that. You can see some activity shown up there. Okay, now we're gonna go back to the activity and deploy log right here, and you can see it's actually just finished deploying. So basically built, let's take a look at this. It built the image and it pushed the image up. You can see that. Then it went through the deploy sequence where basically it used Docker compose. So that's very simple. It's very simple how this kind of works. And then it created a managed domain. So managed domain is just a short URL that makes your app immediately available, and it's configured with SSL, HTTPS, and everything's already configured. Then last step of the deploy sequence is setting up the load balancer, so it's gonna make it essentially routable. And once that's all done, you can click on dashboard and click on view app. So this should show us our .NET minimum API demo right here. So you can see here's the green generator. Click on that, it's hello right there, and you click on right here, and it sends a message right there, echoes back. And there are just some links to additional documentation as well as additional quick starts if you kind of need to use something else right there to get you going. Okay, that's it. Hopefully that was helpful. Cheers.